So what about the Friday prayers, which is mentioned in Surah 62, verse 10? The verse reads, O you who believe, when called to the Salah from the day of the congregation, then you shall strive to the remembrance of God and leave the commerce. That is better for you if you only knew. The first thing we need to note is that the Salah that is mentioned here is indeed referring to a Salah session, as indicated by the word Salah, as well as the remembrance of God that is mentioned in this verse. So this verse is referring to a specific Salah session. This Salah session is to be done from the day of the congregation, min Yawm al-Jum'ah. And traditionally, this Yawm al-Jum'ah is understood to be Friday. And we can see other assigned days in the Quran mentioned, like in Surah 7, verse 163, which talks about the day of their Sabbath, as well as in Surah 20, which talks about your appointment is the day of the festival. So again, these are specifically an assigned day. However, we need to note here that this assigned day that's traditionally known as Friday was done during a community day, community market day. This is why the verse says, leave the commerce. What this teaches us is that although we can technically do it on a Friday, this Salah session on a Friday, it needs to be more oriented to any day of the week that has a community market day. It could be a Thursday or a Wednesday or any other day of the week, not necessarily Friday. The idea is to do it during a time in which there is a community market and where we must leave the commerce, at least momentarily, to attend these Salah sessions. So we can do it Friday. However, it can be any day of the week specifically for the community day that your community observes. Additionally, we need to understand that this is an additional Salah session oriented more and geared towards the general public rather than the private sessions of the dawn and the evening. This is more, again, oriented to the general public during a community market day. And this is why in verse 11 it says, if they come across any trade or some entertainment, they rush to it and leave you standing. So the prophet is preaching to the people at that time, and those who aren't really into it, into the Salah session, they will come across any trade or entertainment, they'll rush to it. They'll leave him standing. And so this indicates for us that the more of the general public was oriented towards this Salah session, which is entirely different than the two private Salah sessions that we talked about, the dawn and the evening. So to finally conclude, the ritual Salah that we know of today is not found in the Quran. What we know from the Quran is that the Salah session of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and this is really oriented to anyone who really wants to quote-unquote follow his sunnah, is found in the Quran. The Salah session during the lifetime of the Prophet was a specific time gathering for spreading the message of God. This is how the Prophet spread the message of God during these Salah sessions. And these were done at dawn and evening and additional weekly public gatherings. And during these sessions, he would recite and preach the Quranic revelations towards these people. And again, if we are trying to follow the quote-unquote sunnah of the Prophet, then this is how we as believers must do it. The believers, in order to uphold the Salah sessions, we do them twice, a minimum of twice a day, dawn and evening, with additional weekly public gatherings, and we simply recite the Quranic revelations, reflect on God, and this is also a time in which we can, of course, pray to God, we implore God, and so forth, and meditate upon God, and all these things that people have associated the word Salah with prayer. So the Salah session itself involves recitation of the Quran and reflecting on the Quranic revelations that God dictated for us. And the idea of ruku' and sujud, as noted earlier, both of these terms have a primary and a secondary meaning. The primary meaning for ruku' is to be humble. The secondary meaning for ruku' is to bow down. The sujud, the primary meaning, is to submit to the laws that are given, and the secondary meaning is to physically prostrate. I hope this has helped you understand what Salah sessions is according to the Quran, Wassalamu alaikum.